This is what my handstand springs look like. That one was a little sloppy. Let's try it again. And as you can see, my handstand springs are a little bit different than the way you may have normally seen handstand springs. And the way that you may have normally seen handstand springs is that they'll get into a handstand, they'll come down just like I was, but they'll let the top of their back touch the floor, and then they'll do that spring up. You know, like that spring you see where you roll back? I really don't want to do it right now because my back's really sweaty and this is just all gonna stick to my back. But where they roll back and then you spring up, I'm sure you've seen it. You roll back on your hands and you spring up. That's the version that they do from a handstand. But I think my way is a little bit trickier because our back's not touching the floor. So there's a little more balance and control involved. And I may have started doing this because I didn't want to touch my back to the floor. I'm always out here sweating, training without a shirt on. And one day I just decided to give it a shot. And it worked out and I was like, wow, that was cool. That was fun. And so that's the way I do it. And before you try it, you just have to have a semi-good handstand. You don't have to hold a handstand for that long, honestly. You don't have to be able to hold a handstand for like a minute because you can just get into it and then spring out. One thing you do have to be able to do in your handstand though is push out your shoulders all the way and look under. You've got to be able to get your head from here to here. Because we can't spring like this. We're not going to spring like we're coming down from a handstand push-up. It just won't work out right. We've got to look under and tuck our chin and get ready to spring out with our feet and also push with our hands to help get us over. So you have to be able to do this with your handstand. Go into a tucked position, and then from a tucked position, look under. And before we spring, before we spring over, we get a little spring action. We tighten up just before we release when we do that spring. So that's the one thing you do have to know how to do, is a tucked handstand, and then look under, and even tuck your chin. So look under and down. Would it be looking under and down, or would it be looking under and up? It's like looking down and up at the same time. You're next to going down, but you end up looking up. The philosophy of calisthenics. And that one little thing from going from this position to here, to your head in between your arms, can be really tricky. In fact, it's like an entirely different world if you haven't tried it before. But here are some tips to help you with that. When I hold my handstands, I have my hands clenched like this. They're not flat. When I clench them like this, with the flat ends of my fingers, not the tips, not like this, but like this, then it puts me in a better position for balancing because I have the flat ends of my fingers to press really hard. I'm pressing down and kind of forward to push me back towards my feet if I'm falling forward. And if I'm falling back towards my feet and I need to come back to the center this way, then I release the pressure from the ends of my fingers and I transfer it over to my palms, and then I'm pushing down and kind of back with my palms in the opposite direction as I was with my fingers. So it's kind of like that little forward and back motion. And that's what's helping me stay balanced. You're never just, while the rest of your body is straight and stable, doing its thing, down here, there are always going to be little minor adjustments going on your fingers and your palms. Look at this, totally unstable. Alright, so whatever, I'll make it a little more challenging for me. I'll get into a handstand, tucked position, Once you get your tuck position down good, squeeze with the ends of your fingers. Keep your shoulders pushed out. And then if you find yourself falling back, like I almost did right at the end there, I let go of the pressure from my fingers and I pressed really hard on my palms. So it's the same concept of switching the pressure. It's just in the beginning, it's a little scary at first. So you gotta transfer nice and slow and controlled. Don't just rush into it. Don't go from here. Don't go from right here and just go. That's scary. If you don't have the control at first, you're gonna lose it for sure. So practice going really, really slow, transitioning slowly, and then squeezing really hard with the ends of your fingers. You'll notice if you stretch with like a stick and you get to this point, if you push up and then go back, you can stretch deeper with a deeper range of motion than if you're just sitting right here and you try pushing it back. So when you're in your handstands, you push your hands out, you'll be able to look through deeper. So now once you've got this tucked handstand and you've got this look under, you can start bending your elbows, bending your arms, so you can get a little bit of spring action for your spring. You need to bend your arms and tuck your knees to your chest, because you're going to tuck them and then shoot your legs out. Now, at first, it's a bit scary, and to make it a little more fair for you guys, that was only the second time that I've ever done it off this box, and it is still frightening. But most of it's just the mind thing. Like, look, this is not that high. I know how to fall out of a handstand, and it's really not that scary. Most of it's in my head. So you just gotta commit. You just gotta go for it. If you don't spring, if you don't kick your legs off further enough, if you don't push, then you're going to hesitate. And when you hesitate, that's when you get injured. So the tricky part about this is looking under right before you spring. Because you want to spring just like this, but you want to bend your arms really deep. And in order to bend your arms deep, you've got to look under and kind of tuck your chin. See, I'm still getting the hang of it myself. It's so unstable. Wouldn't it suck if I jumped up and it was just like